But Diksha is type of Sampradhan. It is a Guru Karan. It is the blessings of the Guru. You cannot deserve that, oh, I deserve, therefore I get. I do meditation, so I have attained spiritual realization by my own effort. No. By our own effort, we cannot reach to that ultimate destination. It's only when we develop that gratitude that it is by the grace of the Supreme that we are here and we are living and we are surviving. So when that gratitude turns into total surrender, that is when, our destination becomes very near. So that is, the whole purpose of our spiritual practice is to develop that sense. Then, so Bhiksha, Diksha, and the third is Shiksha. Shiksha means education. Like in Marathi, actually Shiksha means punishment. But in Hindi, Shiksha means education or transmission of knowledge. We say there are two types of knowledge. One is called Paravidya and another is Aparavidya. Paravidya means intuitional knowledge and Paravidya means the worldly knowledge. Aparavidya means physics, chemistry, mathematics and nursing and engineering or botany, all these subjects, computer science, all these are Aparavidya. They help us to live in this world in a more comfortable way. These Upanishads and these Vedas, they were composed thousands of years ago, and some of their messages are still very relevant today. Like before our collective meditation, we sing Sangha Chadvam, Samvadadvam, Sambhomanansi Janatam, Deva Bhagam, Jatha Purve, Sanjanana Upasate, Samani Vayakuti, Samana Hridayaniva, Samanumastuvo Mano, Jathava Suhasati. This is actually from Rig Veda, and it is called Samgyan Mantra. Means the mantra of moving together. Actually, there is another stanza in between this which Baba has deleted. He has not used that because in that it says we will practice our own thing, but he has taken only those elements which express the spirit of moving together. So we are using that mantra. So that is, you see, thousands of years ago, in that society also when they had clashes, they realized that there was a need of moving together. So that comes out of intuition, greater intuition. When we connect ourselves with that higher mind, with that higher consciousness, then we realize that it is important that everybody must live in harmony and move together. So this is part of that contribution was made as a result of Paravidya. Because there was a culture where people were practicing meditation, they were rishis, they were munis, who spent their whole life doing research on these things. That is why they were able to create such shlokas, so those hymns or those ideas or those values, they were able to bring into the society. That's why I think it is very important that today also we create an educational system. We create a society in which there is a balance between this Paravidya and Aparavidya, the worldly knowledge and intuitional knowledge. In most of our educational systems in the world, it's all 99% this worldly knowledge, and intuitional knowledge is just practically not even existing. And now in about 150 schools in England, they have made it compulsory that meditation will be taught in all the schools, and mindfulness, will be taught. But still there is no discussion of these values of of yama and niyama. In India also, the government created a whole ministry of yoga and Ayurveda, Ayush, they call it Ayush ministry. And before, Anand Marg was the only one which was really teaching yoga in a very big way throughout the world. In 1970s, we were one of the leading organization in the world trying to bring yogic and meditation practices, everywhere in the world. And But now, the governments, it's no longer considered something esoteric, or, everybody recognizes that yes, there is a need for this in order to deal with the menace of stress. So, but in order to create a healthy society, those values will have to be infused. That's why in our system of meditation, yama and niyama, the moral code of conduct, or some ethical viewpoints, they are the foundation of the meditation and spiritual practices. And I think today or tomorrow, the world will have to recognize that society has to be built on those ethical principles. Otherwise, there is no way that society can solve the problems which it has created. There is so much violence in the world. There is so much, materialism, and even the technology is being used only for materialistic ends. So, if we want to reverse this entire, trend, of the society, we will have to bring. So, that is why we have a whole, Gurukul, or the system of education. We call it neo-humanist education. And you are very lucky here that with the initiative of our brother Vishwamitra and the support of Sister Shiva Priya, we are building a global center, a global college of neo-humanists, New Humanist College, and which is going to be the foundation of the University Without Walls. So, we will be able to link up all our educational initiatives all over the world. We have about 1,200 schools and more than 20-25 high schools in India. So, that is the work of this Shiksha. Shiksha means to create this balanced society. We need to have this balance in education, both between Paravidya and Aparavidya, so that these little beautiful souls, they can grow up in that with those values and can bring transformation. And that work has to begin when the child is still inside the womb. So, it should, because that's where the education starts, right there. When one sister went to see Baba when Baba was in jail in Patna, in Bankipur jail, and she said, Baba, what message do you have for the sister? He said that all the pregnant sisters, they should listen to maximum kirtan, because that is where the child is able to, because our auditory system develops, much before our visual system will develop. And so, the child will get that satsang, at that time. Now, then beyond this shiksha, and there is also this prashikshan. Prashikshan means research, means the knowledge is there, but it needs to be, also needs to be rediscovered. We have to develop it. So, there needs to be a research element. Prashikshan means, advanced knowledge or research. So, that is why the purpose of Gurukul, Gurukul, as you know, is one element of Ananda Marga, which is responsible for education. And the mission of Gurukul is to serve humanity with neo-humanist spirit and to acquire knowledge for that purpose. So, it is like our university, where there is both new knowledge is being developed, and also there is teaching of that knowledge also is taking place. And it is not only intellectual knowledge, but also the assimilation of that higher knowledge. Because knowledge is not only, it has to be only in the head, but our character should be transformed. So, neo-humanism, because what is neo-humanism? Neo-humanism is when the love of human heart extends to embrace the entire living and the non-living world. That is the idea of neo-humanism, means universal love. But you can't have universal love and not act based on that universal love. So, the neo-humanism is a transformative knowledge. It is not only an academic knowledge. So, our neo-humanist institutions have to be, the behavior is as important as the intellectual, awareness or intellectual knowledge. So, it's the body needs salt it needs oxygen, it needs nitrogen, it needs all these things. But when you look at salt, you don't think it is something animate or it is something living. You just seems, oh, it's something mineral or it is non-living. But can the human body exist without calcium? The bones will break if there was no calcium. So those elements which make the life mobile, which make life possible for the life to express itself, it also has its own existential value. So that is the spirit of New Humanism, that everything in this universe, in this creation, is valuable, has its own place in this creation, has its utility value, has its existential value. And we have to respect the existential value and discover the utility value, and that's how we'll be able to create a better world. So it's a big task for the educational institutions of today. So, and then from time to time, as we grow up in our life, we need to do reflection. And education actually helps us in that process of reflection, to see whether we are going in the right direction. For example, I remember when I was doing my PhD on the subject of planning nutrition interventions in developing countries. And there was a lot of discussion about these high-yielding seeds which they had developed, and they were bringing this agricultural revolution, in India particularly. And what we find today after 50 years, 60 years, Punjab, which was the granary of India, which was the place where they said, oh, we have brought agricultural revolution and the agriculture yields have gone up, but they use more water and they use more pesticides, and ultimately today it has become the state of India which there is the largest number of cancers in the country. It is considered to be the cancer state now. The water is, you can't even drink that water because it is completely polluted because of these pesticides. That pesticides have gone into the whole water system. They used it like it was killer. The way they used it, they used to spray it in these big fields everywhere. And now I just was recently there, and I went to the villages and they said, oh, my aunt, she died of cancer. There's so many people. So they have created a special center for treating cancer research. There was one in Rajasthan, and now they are bringing one right there in Punjab because there are so many cases. So you see how you use the technology. If you are not careful, if we are not careful, that technology can also have its different effects, which may be only found out. That's why in this country, at least there was a whole department of the government which was dealing with the technology assessment or the impact of technology on human beings. Now we are using this, everybody, every child, uses the thumb. You will find that after maybe another 40 years, you will have problems with the use of this thumb, and you use it too much. Then what will happen is you start developing nervous pain here. And so many different problems will come and if you cannot use your thumb, you can imagine that, the development of this thumb is what made human beings able to do so many things in the society, to hold things, to use the tools, everything. That capability will disappear. But probably we will develop another capability, and that is that we will have systems by which if you think of something, the thought itself will activate through the signaling system a certain machine which will perform the certain tasks. Not that it's going to be the end of the world, but there are some costs and benefits associated with every technology, with everything that we do in our society. So who is going to do the study of what is happening today in the world, to our children, the technology which we are exposed to them, how it's affecting their brain, how it's affecting their neural system. It's areas of research which need to be done. Who will do them? Well, that's why Baba said, Prashikshan. Gurukul is not only an institution where you will just teach values, but you also have to do research. And he says you should have a course on the history of moral advancement, which should be a compulsory course in all our schools, is, Yama and Niyama as they were interpreted, 1500 years ago, when the culture was different, society was different, But today, how to apply those principles in today's world so that we can assess the impact of what is happening in the world from the point of view of these moral principles. So, there are so many moral dilemmas. Is it genetically modified foods are good or not good? It's a moral dilemma. You don't know whether until you do research to see. Changes will come about in the society. The world will never be the same as it used to be, 1,000 years ago. You can say the life was so peaceful at that time, and now we want to go back to the same peace. But can we do it with the same tools which we had at that time? No. We are using different tools, and what effect these tools will have on our body, on our environment, also has to be researched. So there has to be a research element associated in our education system, and that's why the need for precision.